Good news out of Israel and Gaza, where 20 hostages have been released, all remaining living hostages. 4 bodies have been returned. There are about 24 more. It's not clear when they will be returned. Palestinian prisoners have been released, and there's a ceasefire. But what are the terms of the deal? There are several steps to implement the plan, and it is just that, a plan for a ceasefire, not necessarily a comprehensive plan for peace, but obviously it's a step in the right direction. Here are the steps that I found. First, Trump announces the end of the war in the Gaza Strip, and that the parties have agreed to implement the necessary steps to that end. 2, the war will immediately end upon the approval of the Israeli government. All military operations, including aerial and artillery bombardment and targeting operations, will be suspended. During the 72-hour period, it's not clear what this period is, aerial surveillance will be suspended over the areas which the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, have withdrawn from. Part 3, immediate commencement of full entry of humanitarian aid and relief is determined in the proposal, and a minimum in consistence with the 19 January 2025 agreement regarding humanitarian aid. That was a previous agreement that really hasn't been abided with. It then says that humanitarian aid and relief implementation steps are attached herewith, though I don't have that. Item 4, the IDF will withdraw to the lines agreed upon as per map X, attached herewith, also don't have that, and this will be completed after Trump's announcement and within 24 hours of Israeli government's approval. The IDF will not return to areas it has withdrawn from as long as Hamas fully implements the agreement. Item 5, within 72 hours of the withdrawal of Israeli forces, all Israeli hostages living and deceased held in Gaza will be released, list attached, but I do not have the list. It then has provisions on Hamas commencing investigation status of hostages, Hamas releasing all living hostages, which has now happened. Hamas will release the remains of deceased hostages in its possession and those in the possession of the Palestinian factions in Gaza. That could be an issue. That's supposed to happen within the 72-hour time frame, which I think would be by Thursday, but Hamas might not be in possession of all the remains or have the ability to give them all back. What happens then? That's not clear. Hamas will share all information it obtained relating to any remaining deceased hostages through the information sharing mechanism in paragraph E below. Paragraph E says establishment of an information sharing mechanism between the two sides through the mediators and the ICRC to exchange information and intelligence on any remaining deceased hostages that were not retrieved within the 72 hours or remains of Gazans held by Israel. So there is some indication that maybe not all remains will be returned within 72 hours, but it doesn't really say what happens if they're not. Item F of Part 5, as Hamas releases all the hostages, Israel will release in parallel the corresponding number of Palestinian prisoners as per the attached lists. I do not have the lists, but reports are that Israel has released nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners, 1,950, I believe. Finally, item 6, a task force will be formed of representatives from the United States, Qatar, Egypt, Turkey, and other countries agreed upon by the parties, I don't know who those are, to follow up on the implementation with the two sides and coordinate with them. So what we really have is an agreement to cease hostilities, release of hostages, prisoners, and remains, and then a task force to move forward. The question is, what will the move forward be? Will the United States and the president basically declare victory, that the war is over, and now forget about it and leave things to simmer again and probably explode again? Or should we use the momentum to continue the process and maybe, just maybe, come up with a two-state solution, which would be one of the most complicated processes ever in diplomacy. Very, very difficult. It needs to be done. Somebody with the clout to get it done needs to camp out there and not come home until it's finished.